Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So, sometimes you get around these feminist women who, they're over the age of 23, 24, they don't have children, and they're in the dating scene. And they always say things like, I bring all this body. And they like, oh, look at me. Like, they're really proud of their body, even though they might be a bit overweight, need to work on their abs, and they're in these jeans that squeeze the fat in, like what is it called? They're these jeans that are like high rise around your hips, and they actually squeeze your fat in and hide your cellulite, and then they push out your butt. So they give some women a false sense of extra sexiness, I guess you could say. Okay, same with yoga pants. They squeeze your butt and everything together, and fat can be squeezed and manipulated. There's some actually interesting videos of, I don't recommend you watch it if you're a guy, but women who have big cellulite, fat problems, they put on a very tight spandex suit that actually reshapes their body and their stomach and makes them look thinner than what they are. Then when they take it off, all the loose skin comes out. So some women, they get a very hyper intense vain ego from their bodies, and they think this gives them the right to kind of abuse men, and that because they have a thick body, that they get to kind of dictate to men every affair. And some of these women, they hook up with guys on the first date, and then they get ghosted, and then they make crying videos on TikTok, or they start a drinking problem. They start taking Vicodin, Percocet, and, cutting their hair short, making it purple, getting a nose ring, doing something else kind of weird, because their body has not necessarily attracted a mentally compatible person, but rather a fleshmonger who wants to dip and dive. He's wham bam, thank you ma'am, hit it and quit it, say you never did it. So this really vain, secular, atheist, feminist philosophy of shame men, use men, my body is all that matters, spirituality doesn't matter, modesty, dignity, being a housewife is trash, they think, and just being a sex object and hooking up and having high body counts and being an empowered, sexually liberated woman is the way to get a man, when in reality, they're saying the opposite of that. And these men are noticing as well that those type of women who are very vicious in their videos about their bodies, and they are overly praising what they have, and they're above the age of 27, right? And they have a very nasty attitude of boss bee, go-getter, clap back type of attitude. Well, they're starting to see that you can't build a future with women like that, because in order to dominate her, you have to be even more stronger than her, or else she thinks you're a cuck and she won't respect you and end up cheating on you with a more stronger alpha male. And the more you see how these women whine publicly about their mates, about one night stands and being ghosted, and how they turn to wine and pills, and how their sexual liberation feminist philosophy isn't exactly turning out the way that they thought it would, and they're having public breakdowns, and that men are not actually interested in women who've made jumping into different beds a hobby. They don't really feel safe with a woman like that. to trust her with their money, to trust her to be a good mother, to trust her to be responsible and not sleep with their friends, or sleep with her boss, or to get drunk at a bar and sleep with some stranger in the bathroom. So, please, if you have friends who encourage first date hookups, I would tell you to get rid of them the same as you would a bag of dog poop on your couch. Because if you give it up on the first date, you've already set the precedent of how easy you are. And I would tell you, it's better for you to wait even if that person doesn't want to wait. Because then you get to see who really cares about getting to know you. It's quite true that once someone gets what they want, they can kind of lose interest in you. Men have this condition called post-nut clarity, where they thought you were attractive, they thought they liked you, they had a couple beers, you looked good in the night with all your makeup on, and your fake eyelashes and penciled eyebrows, but in the morning, when they woke up, they look over at you and see what you really look like, and the drugs have worn off, and they've busted their nut. Now they're kind of looking at you different. And they kind of got what they wanted. They saw it wasn't that great. They saw how quick you were able to go with them, and then they leave. And then when you text them, "Oh, I had such a great night, will you come see me?" They're not into it. And those same guys, unfortunately, I wish they'd change, right? But they will sleep with the loose women, but they will wife up the women who they had to actually, work for, who demanded something from them in terms of speak to me, respect me, be kind, let's go on a hike, who called them to better behavior, right? The feminist single women, sexually liberated women, their philosophy is getting proven daily to just not work. No matter how much they ban, censor everyone and say it's hate speech or misandry or misogynist or chauvinist, no matter how much they censor women who figure this out and men who speak the truth remains. So, if you are being tempted, you're a Muslim girl who's struggling, and you're around liberals, atheists, and feminists, unfortunately, this is very common in America, and they encourage you to engage in this one-night stand, first night hookups. They tell you he'll get bored of you and leave you if you don't give it right away. I would tell you don't listen to them. And if you have done that in the past, repent to Allah and change. Have some value for yourself. Not the ego, not that kind of power. I mean as in terms of you really want to know the psychology of who this person is. These random, dead, sterile, unconnected, drug-infused hookups, they're nothing fruitful. And you're sinful if you conceive a baby, and it must be murdered because you chose a one-night stand. So, the compilation of sin, of you sleeping with someone you weren't married to, who you barely knew, who you knew for like 5 hours, and then slept with them. And now a little cute, adorable baby must die. That is a heavy burden you will bear on Judgment Day. And who you hang out with will influence you. Who you follow will influence you. So beware of the feminists who glorify hookup culture. and who want you to swallow pills to be sterile and let random dudes who could care less if you live or die into your body for 15 minutes, and then they toss you like a dirty towel and they're off to the next girl, and you smell like sticky semen and you're taking a shower. That's not power. That's not love. That's not going to help your self-esteem. That's not going to make you more spiritual. It's not going to make you feel more fulfilled. You know? So don't do the first night hookups. If you get tempted, fast, turn to Allah, and seek refuge in Him from Shaitan. Because if someone's that handsome and you are being tempted, you need to get out of that situation. You need to find better places to be and find ways to avoid situations like that. Don't follow the kuffar who, years from now, books will be written about the TikTok era and what it led to. We're in a dark age of moral decay that isn't exactly getting exposed due to those activists of that philosophy working in companies that censor this hate speech. So instead of getting mad at me for telling you a cold truth that maybe at first you think sounds like, I don't agree, but just think. When you avoid a dangerous situation, you'll be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and someone who warned you about what that is. And first night hookups, the person can have a disease that you can't see. They could have a weapon. They could rob you. They could hurt you. They could stalk you. They could do anything they want. And if you sleep with someone who you just met, you have a deep underlying issue of low self-esteem masked as high self-esteem. And you should fix that. And you should reject the feminist philosophy of sleep with hundreds of men, and that means power. Don't think that life is just about getting the male gaze. There's more to life than that. And boredom is okay. You can find things to do to fill your time. But don't fall for the first night hookups. And if your friends do it, counsel them. And if they unfriend you because of it, it's better for you. But at least tell them the truth. That what they did was wrong. What they risked was wrong. And Allah bless them that they didn't get murdered. They didn't get robbed. They didn't get a disease. They didn't get something horrible done to them. He let them sin. They'll pay for it on Judgment Day. But they didn't face an immediate consequence. Next time, you might face that consequence because that guy might have a wife, might have a girlfriend, and if you get caught, she's gonna whoop you. You could end up in the hospital. And maybe you end up in the hospital and the next day you had a job interview. Maybe you were gonna do some charity event, who knows? Life has a way of showing you Allah's lessons, right? By His permission. So don't let the "my body's so hot" push you into this vain, vapid, hedonistic, sexual liberation mindset that pushes you to sleep with dudes you just met at the club, sleep with dudes at work, to just have first night hookups. Date the proper way, how it's halal. Have a person there to regulate your conversations. Don't be alone with them for a while. And think about marriage instead. Think about having a real partner, not a 15-minute tussle. Think about it. You can make the change. It is possible. You just have to turn to Allah and seek refuge. But don't be impressed with the ladies who are obsessed with their bodies and sleep with dudes they only knew for 5 hours. It's not power. That's an abuse of freedom. That's a rebellion against God's law, against human dignity, modesty, chastity, and grace. And it shows a weakness in discipline and mental composure. Do better.